Dubai just committed $35 billion to a new airport. Not because Dubai is growing, because Dubai is under pressure. For 30 years, Dubai controlled the world's most powerful transit hub. Emirates became one of the most profitable airlines on earth. Dubai International still handles 92 million passengers a year. Emirates just posted $6.2 billion in pre-tax profit. On paper, the system still looks unbeatable, but something changed. 5 years ago, Istanbul Airport handled 50 million passengers. Today, it handles 85 million. A gap of 40 million passengers has collapsed to just 7 million, and Istanbul is still growing faster. That is not normal competition. That is a direct attack on Dubai's business model. This is the story of the three systems Turkey built to force Dubai's hand. To understand the strategy, you first have to understand the geometry. Every time someone flies from London to Singapore, Paris to Nairobi, or Berlin to Bangkok, there is a decision being made, not by the passenger, but by physics. On a flat map, the route from London to Bangkok appears to go southeast, through the Mediterranean, past the Arabian Peninsula, through Dubai, then across the Indian Ocean. That is the visual logic, but the Earth is not flat. And on a sphere, the shortest path between 2 points, called a Great Circle route, looks very different. On a globe, the shortest path from London to Bangkok does not go through the Gulf at all. It arcs northeast first, over Central Europe, then Turkey, then across Central Asia. The geographic midpoint of that corridor is not Dubai, it is Istanbul. This is not a recent discovery. Aviation engineers have known it for decades. What changed is that Turkey decided to do something about it. In 2018, with its currency in free fall, inflation at 20%, the lira losing nearly half its value against the dollar, the Turkish government committed $40 billion to building a single airport. Not because Turkey needed a bigger airport for its own passengers, because it had identified the one structural fact that Dubai's entire business model cannot fix. You cannot invest your way out of geography. First, it is the corridor. Istanbul sits within 4 flying hours of 55 countries. Dubai sits within 4 flying hours of 42. This difference, 13 countries, represents hundreds of millions of potential passengers who can reach Istanbul without a long-haul connection at all. But the deeper advantage is directional. Dubai's hub captures passengers flying east-west through the Gulf, London to Mumbai, New York to Bangkok, Sydney to Paris. Those routes exist, and they are large. Istanbul captures something different. Every passenger flying between Europe and South Asia, East Africa, Central Asia, or the Caucasus follows a Great Circle route that passes over or near Turkish airspace. The hub does not need to attract those passengers, it sits in their path. Turkish Airlines understood this before the airport was finished. Today it flies to more countries than any other airline on Earth. 132 countries, 303 international destinations. That network did not expand through marketing campaigns. It expanded through systematic geography exploitation, opening routes to mid-sized cities that no Gulf carrier could serve profitably because those cities lie on the natural path through Istanbul, not through Dubai. To put that in perspective, when Turkish Airlines opens a route, it is not just adding a destination. It is redirecting the connecting flow of every European passenger headed to that region away from Terminal 3 at Dubai International permanently. Every new destination on that map is a diversion, and every diversion is a structural loss for Dubai that cannot be recovered through better service, better lounges, or better branding. Istanbul Airport was designed for 200 million passengers at full capacity. Turkey has a population of 85 million. The math is not about serving Turkish travelers, the math is about intercepting everyone else's. There is one additional dimension to this rivalry that the aviation industry does not fully discuss in public. The Gulf is no longer considered stable airspace in the way it was before 2020. On February the 28th, the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran. Iran responded with missiles and drones targeting United States military bases, Israel and Gulf states. 8 countries announced full or partial airspace closures. Dubai International, the world's busiest international airport, went dark. Doha followed. Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Bahrain. Istanbul does not have that problem. It sits north of the instability. Its flight paths do not cross contested military zones. for risk-sensitive passengers, multinational corporations with duty of care obligations, and insurance underwriters pricing aviation exposure, that asymmetry matters. Dubai has never had to answer the question, what happens to the hub if the Gulf closes? Istanbul has never had to ask it. This is not the primary competitive lever, but it is the one Dubai cannot engineer away. Second, there is the aircraft. Emirates built its empire on the Airbus A380, the largest passenger aircraft ever operated commercially. More than 500 seats, 4 engines, a premium product that turns a long-haul flight into a differentiator. It is also a constraint. The A380 only produces acceptable unit economics when it is close to full. Emirates needs to funnel enormous volumes through Dubai on every single route just to justify each departure. The hub must be massive because the aircraft demands it. Volume is not a strategy, it is a structural obligation. Turkish Airlines made the opposite decision. Its primary expansion tool is the Airbus A321neo, a narrow-body single-aisle aircraft. Fewer than 200 passengers. But it operates at a unit cost that makes secondary markets viable from day one, on routes that would never justify an A380. The strategic consequence is asymmetric. Turkish Airlines can open a route to a mid-sized city in sub-Saharan Africa or Central Asia, build market share over 3 to 5 years, and use Istanbul as the feed point for connections across Europe and North America. The economics work immediately. Emirates cannot profitably deploy an A380 on those same routes. The passenger volumes are not there, so it does not fly them. And every city it does not fly is a city feeding passengers to Istanbul instead. The cost structure compounds this further. Turkish Airlines is 49% state-owned. Istanbul Airport operates under a state-backed concession. Turkish labour costs run 60 to 70% below United Arab Emirates equivalents. This is not an efficiency gain Emirates can replicate through better operations. It is a structural cost floor set by the Turkish government's balance sheet. The route pricing follows directly. A connecting fare from London to Bangkok via Istanbul runs approximately $160 below the equivalent Emirates product. For a leisure traveller, a $160 differential is not a preference. It is a decision. Emirates' response has been to move upmarket with cabin investments, premium lounges, the A380 brand experience, betting that enough passengers will pay the premium. That is a marketing bet placed on top of a structural disadvantage. Emirates can upgrade its cabin. It cannot restructure the Turkish government's cost base. The third machine is the one Dubai built itself. In 2024, the Emirates Group committed 128 billion United Arab Emirates dirhams, approximately $35 billion, to the expansion of Al Maktoum International Airport. Target capacity at full build-out, 260 million passengers, the largest aviation infrastructure commitment in history. The standard narrative presents this as visionary expansion. The financial mechanics tell a different story. Dubai International Airport cannot meaningfully expand beyond approximately 110 million passengers. The geography of Dubai City has surrounded it. Residential towers, highways, and urban density have enclosed the existing facility on every side. Physical expansion is no longer possible. Istanbul Airport has a ceiling of 200 million passengers at full build-out, with expansion phases structured to add capacity incrementally as demand arrives. One phase at a time. Capital deployed as revenue justifies it. Al Maktoum is the opposite model. It is a single upfront $35 billion commitment. It only produces an acceptable return if Emirates can fill it. Emirates can only fill it if it maintains and grows its connecting passenger market share through Dubai. That connecting market share is precisely what Istanbul is systematically taking. Here is the mechanism that makes it a trap. Al Maktoum's business case rests on a passenger volume that a foreign government is actively engineering against. Turkey did not stumble into this position. It built toward it over 15 years. The airport, the network, the fleet strategy, the cost structure, specifically to intercept the connecting traffic that Dubai's next airport needs to justify its existence. Dubai was forced to make a $35 billion bet on a future it cannot control, because Istanbul gave it no other option. If Istanbul reaches 150 million passengers by 2035, an achievable trajectory at its current growth rate, and Turkish Airlines continues expanding its network at the pace of the last 5 years, the connecting volume Emirates needs to justify Al Maktoum's operating costs may never arrive. Not because the airport fails, because the market it was designed to serve had already migrated north. These three systems do not operate in isolation. They compound. Here is the sequence. Istanbul adds routes. Each new destination diverts connecting passengers away from Dubai. Fewer connecting passengers means Emirates' cost per seat increases across its entire network, with the same fixed costs spread over a smaller base. Emirates raises fares to protect its margin. Higher fares push more price-sensitive passengers toward Turkish Airlines. Turkish Airlines uses those margin gains to fund further route expansion. Further expansion increases Istanbul's connecting network. The cycle accelerates. The A380 makes this difficult to reverse. Emirates' wide-body fleet is optimized for trunk routes at volume. It cannot economically serve the secondary cities where Turkish Airlines is building its connecting feed. Every city Turkish Airlines reaches before Emirates becomes a permanent feed point for Istanbul is one that Emirates has no cost-effective mechanism to replicate. Turkish Airlines is targeting a fleet of 600 aircraft by 2033. Emirates dominates the routes that already exist. Turkish Airlines is building the routes that will exist. In the hub aviation business, the future belongs to whoever is already there when demand arrives. Istanbul is already there. This analysis demands accountability, because the case for Dubai is real and deserves to be stated clearly. Emirates posted $6.2 billion in pre-tax profit in the most recent financial year. Record revenue, record margins. The premium product argument is not theoretical. It is working today, measured in billions of dollars of real earnings. Dubai as a destination drives origin traffic that Istanbul cannot simply intercept. 17 million tourists concentrated in high-spend categories. That is not connecting traffic. That is demand that exists because of Dubai specifically, its hotels, its financial district, its geographic position as a business gateway. Turkish Airlines cannot replicate that demand by adding routes, and Istanbul Airport carries a debt burden that must be stated clearly. The financing structure involves concession fees, Turkish state guarantees, and construction contracts denominated partly in foreign currencies, executed during the worst lira depreciation in modern Turkish history. Some estimates of total debt exposure, including accumulated interest, extend well beyond the original $40 billion headline figure. Turkish Airlines, despite its extraordinary network growth, has posted volatile earnings. It is highly exposed to fuel costs priced in dollars, while many of its revenues come from weaker currency markets. That asymmetry is not resolved by adding more routes. And here is the structural risk almost no one is discussing. Istanbul Airport's success depends on Turkish Airlines. Turkish Airlines' success depends on Istanbul Airport. They are each other's single largest bet. If one stumbles, a currency shock, a geopolitical event, a management crisis, the other does not simply feel it, it inherits it. Dubai, backed by Emirates, Etihad, FlyDubai, and the sovereign wealth reserves of Abu Dhabi, does not have a single point of failure. Every one of these counterarguments is real. And every one of them was equally real 5 years ago when the passenger gap between Istanbul and Dubai was 40 million, not 7. Dubai is not losing its advantages. It is losing the margin by which those advantages outweigh Istanbul's. And that margin only moves in one direction. Dubai just committed $35 billion to build a new airport. Not because it is losing, because for the first time in 30 years, it is not sure it will. And that uncertainty was manufactured deliberately by a country that studied Dubai's hub model, identified its one structural weakness, and spent 15 years building 3 machines to exploit it. Geography it cannot replicate, a cost base it cannot match, and a capital commitment it could not avoid. Istanbul did not challenge Dubai in a fair fight. It built a trap. The first machine was geography, the second was cost, the third was the $35 billion it forced Dubai to spend, and Dubai is already inside it. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe.